yeye aendelee tu kutupangia, aendelee tu kuumiza watu wetu ni sawa, lakini siku itafika ya kiama. Siku ya kiama itafika. Sisi ni wale tu na tuko tu pale tunamngoja.
Unajua Mheshimiwa Gachagua, ningetaka kujua tu lengo lako ni lipi katika haya mambo yote, hii siasa yote na hiyo mikutano ambayo unafanya na haya maneno yote, lengo lako ni lipi? Kwa sababu you were impeached.
Lengo langu kuwa impeached, mimi si kuwa impeached na raia. Mimi nichaguliwa na raia, si kuchaguliwa na wabunge. Na hiyo tu ni process ilifanyika, bunge iko kotini inaendelea na itakuwa sawa. Hata nikiwa impeached nisipokuwa impeached, mimi ni kiongozi. Leo nimekuwa mikutano na jaa watu 10,000. Kwa nini? Kwani hiyo watu waseme mimi ni impeached? Wanakuja mkutano kunisikiza. Wanakuja kunisikiza kwa sababu mimi ni kiongozi. Mimi niko siasa ya kurekebisha uongozi wa Kenya. Na mara mbili kuokoa Kenya kwa sababu uchumi wetu umezoroteka, wizi umezidi, na pahali Kenya naendelea tutaangamia kama taifa. Number 2, lazima nirudishe heshima ya watu ya Mlima Kenya. Huyu rais ametuaibisha, ametukosea heshima, ametutumia vibaya. Sisi alitudanganya tukaenda kwa siasa na chama yake. Tumekubaliana kama jamii, tumetoka UDA tutakuwa na chama yetu. Na hiyo chama yetu ndio tutasimamisha watu naye. Kwa sababu huyu mzee anaitwa Raila Odinga. Mimi namwadmire nikiangalia. Yeye hajakuwa rais wa Kenya, lakini anaingia kwa kila serikali kwa sababu ako na chama yake na watu wake, watu wazuri. Na vile anawaambia wafanye ndio wanafanya. Na ndio anaingia kwa serikali vile anataka. Sisi katika Mlima Kenya tutakuwa na chama yetu na Wakenya wengine. Na tutakuwa na zaidi ya wabunge 150. Na sisi yetu na kulipa yetu kwa sababu katika bunge, katika senate. Number 2, sisi tunazungumza viongozi wazuri ambaye na kwa hivyo katika chama chetu tutauliza wananchi wa Meru, wa Embu, wa kila pahali waangalie viongozi wazalendo. Sio wale wanaweka tumbo zao mbele, sio wale ambaye wanasaliti jamii, sio wale ambaye wanaweza kuuza hata mama yao kama bei iko sawa. Kwa hivyo hii siasa yetu hatufanyi peke yetu. Rais alitaka kutugawanya kama Mount Kenya East and West na watu wamekataa. Na mimi nataka nishukuru watu wetu. Na niambie Wameru, mkiwa peke yenu kama Wameru hakuna pahali mtaenda. Watu wa Embu mkiwa peke yenu hakuna pahali mtaenda. Wakikuyu wakiwa peke yao hakuna pahali wataenda. Nguvu yetu ni umoja wetu. Kura yetu itakuwa na maana kama tuko kitu kimoja. Na tangu zamani nyungu ya mti ya gema inaiva na mawe 3. Jiwe la Mkikuyu, la Mwembu, la Mumeru. Tusikubali kugawanywa. Na tukikubali, kwa sababu ndivyo William Ruto alikuwa anatupangia, tutalia. Unajua Bwana Martin, Uhuru Kenyatta alikuwa ametuonya. Na mimi nimeomba msamaha kwake mara mingi kwa niaba ya jamii. Akatuambia mjihadhari huyu William Ruto. Hatukumsikia. Saa hii tunalia. Uhuru anacheka pahali yako. Mimi nataka kutahadharisha watu wetu tujihadhari. Kwa sababu huyu kiongozi hataki sisi mema. Uliona juzi amekusanya watu huko pahali naitwa Mount Elgon. Mbunge naitwa Dani Wanyama anasimama na rais ameketi pale. Huyo mbunge anasema sisi tutaunganisha jamii zingine zote kupigana na hii watu ya Mount Kenya, tuisolate hao wakuwe peke yao, na rais ameketi. Aliposimama na yeye anasema anatafuta umoja wa Kenya. Hakukashifu huyu MP, amwambie hiyo hapana maongeo mazuri, kwa sababu hiyo maneno mwenye kupanga. Lakini uzuri hii kura tulipea William Ruto. Hata kama tunaona kama tulifanya makosa, kuna pahali ilitusaidia pia. Jamii zingine zimetuheshimu sana. Simejua sisi si wa kabila, sisi hatujipendi, sisi ni waangwana, na sisi ni watu ya kutimiza ahadi. Tunapoongea leo, mimi nafanya kazi na Kalonzo Musyoka. Mimi nafanya kazi na Martha Karua. Mimi nafanya kazi na Eugene Wamalwa. Mimi nafanya kazi na George Natembea. Mimi nafanya kazi na Mithika Lenturi. Mimi nafanya kazi na Fred Matiang'i. Ile jama rais alikuwa ametupangia, ashikanishe makabila zingine zote situpige, imekwama, kwa sababu hao makabila zingine wanataka kufanya kazi na sisi, na utaona siku ya Jumanne nikiwa na hao viongozi, sisi tumekubaliana, watu ya jamii ya Omugusi, jamii ya Mlembe, jamii ya Maa, jamii ya Wakamba, jamii ya kila mtu, tuungane, tutafute formula vile tutaunda serikali pamoja. Kwa hivyo ningetaka niambie watu wetu wa Meru, msikuwe na wasiwasi. Ile mpango rais alikuwa naye ya kuunganisha jamii zingine against us, vile alifanya 2007, kwa sababu ndiye alikuwa mwenye hiyo maneno, ndiye alikuwa ameunganisha wale wengine wote wapigane na sisi kama jamii moja. Imeanguka, imekwama. Majamii zingine zote wanataka kufanya kazi na sisi. Kwa hivyo sisi tuko katika hali nzuri sana. In fact, hatujakuwa kwa ile hali tuko nayo kwa siasa yetu tangu 1963 ya kwamba watu ya Mlima Kenya wameheshimika Kenya nzima, na kila jamii nataka kufanya kazi na sisi. Tushikane pamoja, tuunde serikali pamoja, serikali ya kuokoa Kenya, serikali ya kurekebisha uchumi, serikali ya kuheshimu maoni ya kila mtu, na hasa ya kuchunga mali ya watu.
Unajua Mheshimiwa Rigathi, Mkenya saa hii anajiuliza mbona niamini Rigathi Gachagua saa hii, kwa sababu ulikuwa mfanyikazi wa Uhuru Kenyatta, mlikuja na mkakosana. Ulikuwa naibu wa rais wa William Ruto, mmekuja umekosana. Sasa alafu tena uwaletee another outfit, mbona wakuamini?
Mimi sikukosana na Uhuru Kenyatta, mimi nilikuwa mfanyikazi wake na tulifanya siasa na yeye. Yeye alikuwa na staff wake wanapigania kiti. Kama Uhuru alikuwa anapigania kiti, mimi ningekuwa nimeunga mkono. Unasikia? Nasikia yeye aliamua anataka kwenda barabara hii. Huyu William Ruto akadanganya sisi. Na tumekubali, alitudanganya kabisa. Alikuja na Biblia akadanganya 10-0. Hiyo tumekubali kabisa. Hapo alituweza. Na sisi mimi naomba msamaha kwa jamii kwa sababu alitudanganya. Na mimi ile kitu ninajipea nguvu. Hata kama William Ruto alinidanganya na mimi nikafanya jamii yetu ipotee barabara. Ile inanitia moyo ni hii. Mimi Rigathi Gachagua ni mtu ya kawaida. Kama William Ruto alidanganya mabishop, akadanganya mareverend, akadanganya mapasta, watu wamemwagiliwa mafuta, mimi ni nani? Rigathi Gachagua mtu ya kawaida. Sisi tumekubali alitudanganya. Katika jamii yetu iko msemo ya kusema kufanya makosa sio mbaya, mbaya na kurudia. Yale makosa tulifanya ya kuleta William Ruto na kuambia watu wetu wamchague, tutarekebisha. Sisi wenyewe ndio tulimlete na tutarekebisha, na tutakaa chini na Wakenya wengine na tunashikana na jamii zingine, tutaungana sisi pamoja, tutapiga kura pamoja na tutarekebisha hii Kenya itakayo.
Wale ambao wengine unataka kuungana nao Mheshimiwa Gachagua ni watu ambao ulionya Wakenya dhidi yao. Kwa mfano Matiang'i katika uongozi wa Jubilee ulisema kwamba Matiang'i ndiye amehusika kuchoma bidhaa za watu wa Mlima Kenya, wanabiashara wa Mlima Kenya. Sasa mbona tena hii tune imebadilika?
Unajua sisi kukuambia ukweli, hii maneno yote ni William Ruto alikuwa ametuambia. Na tulikuwa tunamwamini. Wacha nikwambie, alituambia Uhuru Kenyatta ni mlevi na tukaamini kwa sababu hii mtu aona Biblia na iko lugha tamu. Akatuambia shida ya Kenya ni Raila Odinga ni mganga, leo wako na yeye. Unasikia? So sisi pale alikuwa ametuteka nyara.
Mtu mmoja nyinyi wote.
Kabisa. Huyu mtu ni mkali. Alitumia Biblia na kulia na kuongea na lugha tamu na safi. Tukamwamini 100% ya kwamba Martin mimi mtu ambaye nimesoma, mimi ni political scientist, nimekubali kwenda kwa serikali bila kuandikania chochote. Sinaona hata kama ni kurogwa. Ati mimi na ni mtu nimesoma, mimi ni mtu iko na akili ya kwamba huyu William Ruto alinidanganya mimi, nikaenda kwa serikali bila kuandikania chochote. Mimi nakubali makosa yangu na mimi nimeomba msamaha kwa sababu he conned me and all of us. Sio ati mimi peke yangu.
Sasa Matiang'i hakuchoma vitu za Wakikuyu?
No, ni ile serikali ilikuweko that time. There were also problems in that government. Like there will be problems in every government. Lakini hatuwezi sema ya kwamba hatutafanya kazi na yeye kwa sababu alikuwa pale na kuna maneno ambayo ilifanyika labda haikutufurahisha. Vile tu huyu Raila Odinga, William Ruto alituambia ni mganga, alituambia ni Lord of Poverty, saa hii wako na yeye. Unasikia? So sisi imefika kiwango tumesema mtu yote ambaye tutasaidiana na yeye kufukuza huyu jamaa
Yeah.
aondokee Kenya, ndio hii Kenya isonge mbele, ndio tumalize ufisadi, ndio tuangalie mambo ya uchumi. Lazima Raila Odinga si wako na Ruto
akiamua kuja.
Sasa sijui vile ataamua, naona wako pamoja. So sisi, lakini sisi kusema ukweli hatuhitaji tuko sawa. Ile vile Kenya inakaa, watu ya payslip 3.5 million. Na kama kuna watu wameumia Kenya ni watu ya polisi, ni watu ya payslip, wakiwemo madaktari, wakiweko walimu, wakiweko polisi. Na sisi tumehakikishia watu ya payslip ya kwamba kazi yetu ya kwanza tukiunda serikali is to restore the dignity of the payslip. Hii maneno ya housing fund, housing levy, hiyo tutamaliza. Na hii manyumba yote imejengwa tupatie county government ikodishe, ichukue pesa irudishie ile watu ambao walitoa. Hiyo ni kazi ambayo ni ya biashara ya kutafuta pesa. Hakuna mtu anahitaji nyumba kutoka kwa serikali. Kazi ya serikali sio kujenga manyumba. Kazi ya serikali ni kujenga barabara, ni kutia maji, ni kutengeneza masomo, ni mambo ya stima. Na kwa hivyo hao watu ya payslip tuko pamoja. Hao watoto wetu wa Gen Z ambaye mimi nilisimama na
haya mambo uliyajua lini? Kwa sababu wewe ulikuwa unapigia debe sana mambo ya housing.
Kama ukiona mwaka moja nilikuwa napinga sana. Mwaka mimi tulielewana na rais mwaka moja.
Naam, hiyo
nilipojua hii housing ni biashara. Sikuwa najua
biashara ya nani?
Yake na Wahindi. Unasikia? Hii housing fund ni mambo ya kuuza chuma na simiti na mabati. Unasikia? Hiyo mwingine anaitwa Defki yako hapa Roiro. Ni partner ya rais. Huyu ndio anauza chuma zote na simiti na mabati ya affordable housing. Mimi nilikuwa napigia debe hii housing. Rais alikuwa ameniambia ati ni kitu ya kusaidia Wakenya, ni ya kutafutia vijana ajira, kuja kugundua kumbe ni mambo ya biashara. Nikakataa mambo yake. Hii mambo ya SHA alikuwa niambia ati niende nikapigie debe kwa TV, ati nikasema ya Dani ni mzuri. Nikamwambia siwezi. Ulisikia juzi hapa akilalamika siku mlikuwa pale. Ati uliona huyu Rigathi ameenda TV hata siku moja kutetea programu ya serikali. Mimi siwezi kwenda kutetea wizi. Mimi mwaka ya kwanza nilikuwa natetea kwa sababu nilimwamini. Vile tulichaguliwa, aliniahidi yeye ni Mkristo, ameokoka na anatakia Kenya mema. Lakini nikiwa ndani nikaanza kuona hii maneno yote ni wizi, ni uporaji wa mali, ni uongo, ni mambo ya biashara. Mimi nikataa kwenda kutetea.
Haya, ulianza kuona haya maneno hayafai baada ya kuitisha 10 billion ukanyimwa?
Hiyo ni uongo ya William Ruto. Wewe Martin. No. Kuna kitu ya William Ruto naweza amini. Yeye alisema akiingia mwezi 3 akina mama watapata sanitary pads. Wamepata. Alisema akiingia kila mtu atapata mtungi ya gas. Kuna mtu amepata. Alisema 6 months atajenga Nithi Bridge. Amefanya. Alisema ataweka pesa kwa mfuko. Ameweka pesa ama kutoa ametoa. Mambo yake yote ni ya uongo. Unajua amepeana sababu 3 ya kunitoa. Na anapeana kulingana na pahali yako. Alienda Western anasema tulitoa hii mtu ni mkabila. Hakuambia Waluya ati nimeitisha 10 bilioni. Alienda Coast. Yeah? Akasema hii mtu ni incompetent. Ndio tulimtoa. Unasikia? Amefika hapa amesema alitisha 10 bilioni, which is which? Kwani yako na different reasons for different regions. Ni mtu tu ni muongo. Na yeye anakudanganya kama ameshika Biblia namna hii. Unasikia? Mimi hakuna pesa naweza itisha William Ruto, na mimi hakuna pesa anaweza kunipea. Mimi hapana hiyo wabunge anapea pesa ati waseme yesa. Kama mimi nilitaka pesa, ningekuwa pale na yesema yesa angenipatia. Yeye yako na pesa mingi sana ya kupatia mtu ya yesa. Praise and worship. Wewe ukimuinamia vile niliona mjumbe mwingine na inama, huyu yuko nywele nyeupe. Najua nilishangaa. Wewe unainamia mwanaume na hapana Mungu karibu uguse sakafu. Mimi kama ningekubali kuinamia William Ruto, angenipatia ile pesa mimi nataka, lakini mimi sina haja na pesa. Mimi ni mzee, mimi niko na mali yangu, si mingi kama yake, ni kidogo tu ya kukula, na mimi sina mahitaji mingi, lakini mimi am priceless. Na mimi nakwambia ile msimamo nilichukua, kama ni pesa ningetaka angenipatia, lakini mimi sina haja. Mimi siwezi kuuza jamii, siwezi uza watu ya Kenya, mimi siwezi kubali ufisadi, siwezi kubali watoto wa Gen Z wauawe hata kama ningechukua pesa. Martin, mimi ni mzazi. William Ruto ameambia polisi ni watoto ya Gen Z, watoto wachanga. Damu ya hiyo watoto ndio inamsumbua saa hii. That is why he is not sleeping. Umeona ameenda pale Rome, amepewa kando amejaribu kuhakikisha imekataa kuwaka. Ile mtu yote alihusika kumwaga damu ya watoto ya Gen Z. Akiweko yeye na huyo Mr. Yesa, kwa sababu hao ndio walimwaga damu ya Gen Z. Hawatapata amani maisha yao. Kwa sababu hao watoto hawakuwa na hatia. Walikuwa tu wanataka ukweli. Wanataka haki ya Wakenya. Na kwa sababu bunge imenunuliwa, upinzani imenunuliwa, ikabidi watoto waongee. Mimi singechukua pesa ya William Ruto nikubali auwe watoto. Na ndio mimi nikiwa deputy president. Mimi sikuongea kama niko nje. Unajua tunasema mbona Rigathi wanaongea saa ile wametoka. Mimi niliongea nikiwa ndani. I spoke on 26th of June in Mombasa as deputy president. Na nikasema hakuna makosa kuua watoto. Na mimi nimekatana na hiyo maneno. Nikiwa naibu wa rais. Kwa hivyo mtu aseme ati mimi naongea kwa sababu nimetoka. Mimi nilianza kuongea nikiwa ndani. Ukiuliza, nilisikia Linturi akikwambia, I am the only person in cabinet. Nilisimama kupinga finance bill 2024. Nikainuka mkono nikasema kwa rais, hii maneno ya finance bill siwezi kubali kwa sababu haiwezi kubalika. Hii ni kuumiza Wakenya, ni kuwatatiza, wagali wako na mashida mingi, na mimi ningetaka kujiondoa kwa hiyo maneno, na mimi siungi mkono na nimekutana naye.
Na nikaweka kwa record. Mimi niliongea nikiwa ndani, siongei kwa sababu niko nje. Na mimi nitaendelea kuongea nikiwa ndani, nikiwa nje. Saa hii niko nje, nitarudi ndani. Hivi karibuni tu. Na hata nikirudi ndani, nitaendelea kuongea from inside. Kwa sababu ni muhimu mtu kuongea mambo ya ukweli. Ni muhimu kutumikia Wakenya. Ni muhimu kufikiria yule Mkenya ambaye alikupatia kazi umfanyie. Ni makosa sana kuweka tumbo yako mbele, kufikiria mambo yako wewe binafsi na kusahau mashida za Wakenya.
Mheshimiwa Rigathi, huo mwaka moja ambao unasema mlikuwa mnasikizana na president. Wajua watu wa Mlima, watu wa Meru, watu wa Embu wangetaka kujua, kwa sababu umetuambia kwamba ulikuwa pale kutetea maslahi ya watu wa Mlima kama role yako nyingine, pamoja na kusaidiana na president ama kumsaidia president. So watu wa Mlima wangetaka kujua ni nini ambacho ulifanya cha kuwafaidi then.
Mimi nilikuwa na matatizo mengi sana kwa sababu rais hakunipatia nafasi ya kufanya.
For the leadership of the Residents Association, if they are given like that broad brief on the journey that we have walked. Some has been here, Gashago from Woodley for many times. I can see the leadership of Jericho, they are here as well. So it would be nice for us to get that some just brief update from the Secretariat of how far we had progressed this conversation. Because as we speak, there are estates where the governor had given certain undertakings. Then we can set aside those conversations for when he's here, but also you can hear from the associations themselves on what is happening on the ground. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Senator, and welcome to the meeting again. Members?
So, thank you, Chair. Picking from where Senator Sifuna has left, perhaps the beginning point would be to ask ourselves how many estates are represented here, and how many are not. Then again, Chair, as we begin the session today,
can we kindly all of us agree that at least today we will conclude on certain things, so that these meetings are not meetings that will happen every time. At least today let us bank on some things, you know. We bank on, if we say we are going to finalize on 5 or whatever number of estates, we bank that and move on to other things. So there's a quick time for ourselves to do other things, Chair. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wambua. I think I agree with you. So I would request that as the Secretary will giving us an update, help me identify the critical areas that you really deeply care about, that you want us to conclude, so that as we go through the meeting, we make sure that we cover that ground. Senator Chute?
Chair, I support statement from Senator Sifuna and Senator Wambua. They are both very important. Thank you.
Very well. Then let me then allow the Secretariat, first of all, through the clerk, to enlighten us. I know I've taken notes and I've had names from various estates, which looks to me like 4 estates, but I don't want to But actually, because Sam just got in, I was sitting there, I didn't see him. Welcome, Sam. So with Woodley, in my view, there will be about 5, but I would want Secretariat to confirm because you are signing in through the Secretariat. So confirm to us the number of estates that have showed up already, and then go ahead and give us a status brief as has been advised by Senator Sifuna, then we can take it from there.
Thank you, Chair. So far we have representatives from 5 estates. That's Lumumba, Ofafa Jericho, Maringo, New Pumwani, and Woodley. Those are the 5 that we have right now.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Senator.
The list again, please.
Lumumba Estate, Ofafa Jericho, Maringo, New Pumwani, and Woodley Estate.
Very well. Go ahead to a status update.
Members, in your file, there is a committee paper. Just
Were the others invited?
we only have contacts for those ones that we invited.
What is that?
Chair, that is not possible because we have provided contacts for all the residents associations involved in this regeneration project. And if the clerk remembers correctly, those invitations have been sent to all these people before. And Chair, I want to just say that if there was any challenge reaching any one of these people, I should have been notified so that I provide you the contacts because we have the contacts.
Senator Ambua?
Chair, you need to guide on that because initially I thought we were supposed to have 13. But only 13. So I see only 4.
There's Maringo, there are 5. So, Chair, what that means is going back to what, Chair, I want you here. I'll wait for you to.
Go ahead, Senator.
Yeah, so, Chair, I was saying, now going back to what I was saying, is that the expectation is that at least we should be able to complete on certain issues. So where does that leave us when we have 8 estates that are not represented? If the issues are cross-cutting, what do we do? You need to guide us.
Senator Chute?
Question number 1 should be, were they invited? If yes, then we'll not take blame for that one. If they were not invited, what are we going to do now to also invite them in our next meeting maybe?
Just a moment. Senators, I've just consulted with the clerk, and apparently, when this meeting was held in June 2023, it is again the same estate that we are seeing here that had come. So, in their wisdom or lack of wisdom thereof,
the Secretariat invited the estate that came to that meeting at that time. But I want to guide that I had requested that we have all the 13 estates. So, clerk, that's a serious omission that I would still want you to make sure that you get in contact. And there's a lot of opportunities, even through Senator Sifuna's office, to be able to actually get contact of all these other estates. They must all be involved. I don't want a situation whereby, as a committee, we only dealt with a few estates and then issues emerge in other estates. So I think we will proceed with the estates that are presented here, but rule that you must communicate to the other estates, and if possible, have a follow-up meeting with them as well, and be able to actually also put together the cross-cutting issues in lieu of engaging the others. I would wish to discuss this idea that there are some more estates that are more equal than others. That's not the Kenya we live in. However big or strong or economically important estate is, all of them are equal before this committee, and all of them must be considered. Because I think that these are now a value judgment from my side. I think that there's a possibility that perhaps you are thinking that these are the major estates. That idea of major estate does not apply in this committee. All the estates that are facing the regeneration and the renewal program must be considered. So clerk, take note and make sure they are communicated to, and they are aware of what is going on in this committee and these conversations. So because esteemed ladies and gentlemen in the House have already come from the other estates, it would be fair that we also listen to them. So we will proceed with the ones that are here, but we must communicate and engage those that are not here, and possibly organize for another meeting to engage with them as well. That would be the fairness, as I think, honorable senators. So with that, then we proceed to the status report.
Thank you, Chair. In our files, we have a committee paper right after the agenda.
And I will request the estate's leadership to listen attentively to this report, because I think a good conversation will start with, is there anything that has changed from this report? Because this was some of the updates that came from the members of this estate. And then we can take it forward from there, so that we don't belabor what has been presented here, and then focus on what might have changed or what wasn't achieved from this report. So go ahead.
We go to page 2, where the Standing Committee on Housing and Transportation was informed that the County Government of Nairobi was implementing a program on urban regeneration and renewal of the estates in Nairobi. And the committee was further informed that the chairpersons of Residents Association had requested a meeting with the committee, so that to apprise the committee on the concerns of the residents of these targeted estates. So the committee met with the Residents Association chairpersons, and the meeting was informed that the following about this was what the committee was informed about those particular estates. One, that Ofafa Jericho Lumumba, California, and Ofafa Maringo were among the 13 estates in Eastlands that had been earmarked for redevelopment by the County Government of Nairobi. That Ofafa Jericho Lumumba, and Ofafa Maringo estates were projects that had been undertaken by the Israeli government in agreement with the Kenyan government, and that the residents of New Pumwani, California estate had written a petition to the County Government of Nairobi requesting that the ownership of the houses be converted from a social housing unit to tenant purchase scheme for payment of mortgage for the houses, but the petition had not been responded to. The committee requested for response from the Governor of Nairobi, and this is what the committee requested for: a copy of the agreement between the Israeli government and the government of Kenya for reconstruction of the estates through the tenant purchase scheme, a copy of volume 1, 2, and 3 of the report on the urban renewal plan for Eastlands, Nairobi, a copy of development control guidelines for Eastlands, and the status of response of the county government to a petition by residents of the New Pumwani estate for conversion of social housing units to a tenant purchase scheme. the status of the current ownership of the houses in the estates, a copy of title deeds for the parcels of land on which the estates were built, and the original plans for the development of the estates, an explanation onto the circumstance under which the contractor was given an approval for the development of New Pumwani Estate and then demolished flat C5 on 20th of May at night, and a statement of rent collected by the county government of Nairobi since 1985 for Ofafa Jericho Estate, for Jericho Lumumba and Ofafa Maringo Estate. The committee invited the governor to a meeting, and moving on to number 11. The committee invited the governor to appear on a meeting on 27th, and he appeared, and this is how he responded. One, that the 13 estates had been earmarked for the urban renewal program, and these estates belonged to the Nairobi County government, and the current occupants were tenants of the county government and not purchasers or owners, and that the county government of Nairobi did not have any copy of an agreement between the Kenya and the Israeli government for the construction of Jericho Estate through tenant purchase scheme, that the title deeds for these estates were not currently available as the process of obtaining them was underway with the Ministry of Lands, that the Urban Renewal Program initiative sought to meet the increasing demand of housing in the city, and that the county government had made a cabinet resolution to allocate one house to each current tenant as a compensation for the rent that they had paid over the years. Consequently, the tenants will enter into memorandum of understanding with the county government on the same, and that the program is a project for upgrading these estates that were already in deplorable state to provide decent housing and social facilities to the residents and the greater population of Nairobi. That these projects will retain the heritage history of the estates, which was of sentimental value to the tenants who were born and raised in these estates, and that the renewal contracts for renewal of these estates had been entered into, and the projects were set to begin. The committee further wrote to the county government of Nairobi in asking them to respond to issues raised, and these are the issues that the committee sought to find out. One was the tender documents for construction of these estates, and a copy of minutes and resolutions for public participation meeting for all the estates that had been regenerated, copies for the joint venture agreements for contracts for the estates and the county that the county government had entered into with developers, and the details of the nature of tenancy agreement between the tenants and the county, and as well any agreements between the county government and the tenants of the estates for relocation and reallocation of the developed units, which the county government had earlier said that they were getting into an agreement with to allocate these tenants each a unit. So at the meeting, which the governor appeared on 18th of March 2025, the committee resolved to hold a joint meeting with the representatives of the estates for these estates and the governor in order to resolve the issue. I submit.
Members?
Chair, if you allow me, there is at number 14 a brief on the responses that had been received. I think this is pursuant to the request from 11th March 2024 and the meeting of 18th March 2025. Perhaps you can also take us through the responses that were received. I believe this is the responses to the 5 issues in paragraph 12, right? I think that brief is in the file.
Yes, yes.
So for the benefit of everyone, you can just go through what was supplied by the county government.
By the county government.
Clerk, may you help members also to where I think it's also in the folders. You can help point members to those particular responses, even as the clerk is going to peruse and go through the same.
Thank you, Chair. One was on the physical copies of Volume 1, 2, and 3 of the Urban Renewal Plan for the Eastlands Nairobi estates. So the plans were submitted to the committee. The second item was the original plans for the development of the estates. So the original development plans are in possession of the Ministry of Lands, Public Works and Housing, and the county government of Nairobi had written to the Cabinet Secretary for facilitation of copies of the development plan for onward forwarding to the Senate. The second item was if a copy of the response to a petition by the residents of New Pumwani Estate for conversion of social units to a tenant purchase scheme. The county government did not respond on that. The county government also committed to conduct a site visit to the New Pumwani Estate and understand the technicalities involved. So the last time the governor was here, confirmed that the meeting has not happened, has not taken place. In regards to a copy of response to a petition by the residents of the New Pumwani, California Estate for conversion of social housing to tenant purchase scheme, reference is made to the prayers of the petition that the existing tenants in the New Pumwani Social California to be converted for rental to purchase tenant purchase scheme and any other way that the county government could protect the rental tenants' rights under the social housing. To this effect, the county government of Nairobi conducted a meeting with the petitioners of the New Pumwani Estate on 22nd of May, 2024. The resolution of the meeting was that the estate had not yet been earmarked for redevelopment, and so it was not possible to engage on the matter or convert the units for tenancy to tenant purchase scheme. The committee observes that the minutes of this consultative meeting were not signed to ascertain if the resolutions made were legally binding. Number 4.
Chair, on that one, go ahead, Senator. So when you say the county government met with some petitioners, who are these petitioners?
Of the New Pumwani, California Estate.
Chair, perhaps I can guide Senator Wambua.
Yes.
There was a petition that had come from the residents, the tenants, current tenants of New Pumwani. This is not one of the estates that we are discussing, the 13 for redevelopment. And that is why the conversation that was had between the residents and the county government, you can see the committee is noting that there were minutes of that meeting, but that they were not signed. So that's a pending issue, but that one was a different estate from the ones that we are engaging with Urban Regeneration. So I think you can just move to number 4, which is a statement of the rent collected by the county government for Ofafa Jericho, for Ofafa Lumumba, and for Ofafa Maringo Estate, which is on page 3 there.
Very well.
Okay.
Clerk.
In regards to the rent collected by the county government of Nairobi since 1985 for the Ofafa Jericho, Ofafa Lumumba, and Ofafa Maringo, the governor submitted that the data of rent payment for the 3 estates was an estimation of the amount that the Nairobi County Council may have collected through manual payment up to 2010, where a new system was inaugurated. So he further emphasized that the rent is mostly around 80%.
I want you to also be reading committee observations, because that is that's the next step of our engagement with the leadership here. Because that's why I want to confirm. For instance, when a minute were not signed, the governor could have said they were signed or not, but now we have got the leadership here who can be able to confirm whether the meeting took place, what were the agreements. So please do read the committee observations.
So the committee observed that the requested rent status of Afa Maringo for the year 1990 was not provided, and further noted that the automated rent collected had two systems, that is the Life Forms and Nairobi Pay, which were running concurrently between 2021 and 2022. The fifth item was a copy of the County Executive Committee resolution to allocate one house to each current tenant as a compensation of the rent they have paid over years. In reference to this resolution, through the extract of the minutes of a meeting conducted on 24th and 25th of January 2024, the governor submitted that the housing units for the existing tenants would be ring-fenced and made available for the tenants on completion of the housing project. He clarified that the tenants were only expected to deal with the expenses and maintenance cost. However, the committee notes that there were no legally binding agreement between the county government and the tenants on that allocation of a house per tenant. Number 6 was a copy of minutes taken during public participation in each of the 13 estates. The governor provided a comprehensive report of 2 public participation meetings, with the first being held on 12th of February 2021, covering 10 estates, which was Ziwani, Lumumba, Ofafa Jericho, Woodley, Bondeni, Bahati, Kariobangi North, Embakasi, and Maringo, while the second meeting was conducted on 25th of May 2023 for 13 estates, which is Ziwani, Lumumba, Ofafa Jericho, Woodley, Bondeni, Bahati, Kariobangi North, and Embakasi, Maringo, Huruma, Kariobangi South, and Buruburu. So the committee observed that the original development plans earmarked 18 government-owned estates for redevelopment, which included Kaloleni, Makongeni, Mbotela, Ladis, Shaurimoyo, Bahati, Maringo, Lumumba, Jericho, Jerusalem, Uhuru, Gorofani, Bondeni, Majengo, Ziwani, Kariako, Starehe, and New Pumwani. The committee notes that public participation meetings were only conducted for 7 government-owned estates, and the other 2 private estates, which is Woodley and Buruburu, as per the initial development plan. Number 7 was a copy of the contracts that the Nairobi City County Government entered into for the redevelopment of the 13 estates. According to the public notice dated 3rd of January 2024, an invitation for expression of interest was advertised in the print media on 8th of January 2021 for requests for proposal to interested and qualified developers to carry out the phase 2 projects comprising of initial 10 county rental estates. These estates are Woodley, Ziwani, Bahati, Maringo, Jericho, Lumumba, Bondeni, Pumwani, Embakasi, and Kariobangi North, divided into 12 lots in February 2023. Another public notice was placed in the local daily on 13th of May 2023, comprising of 13 estates, which added to the 10, and the 3 new estates was Huruma, Kariobangi North, Buruburu. So the governor submitted that only 7 potential developers for the development of 6 estates, which is Bahati, Maringo, Jericho 2, Ziwani, Kariobangi North, and Woodley Estate, showed interest to undertake the development. However, out of the 7 developers, only for Kariobangi North and Woodley Estate Lot 1 contracts had been fully executed. So the committee observes that only 2 estates under implementation were not listed at the initial development plan. Number 8, the acreage of land for each of the 13 estates. as indicated.
Just before you go to number 8, Clerk, there is an important note there at number 12 that I think it is important for the people here to hear. Paragraph 12 on page 6.
There's a note on page 6.
Yeah.
No, 12.
So far, only 2 contracts have been signed by Nairobi County Government and 2 developers. That is MS UD Patel and Company Limited for the redevelopment of Kariobangi North Estate and MS Africa Rate Limited for redevelopment of Woodley Estate Lot 1.
I hope that the leadership of the estates have taken note of that. Proceed to number 8.
Chair, number 8 was the acreage of land for each of the 13 estates. The governor provided details on the portions of land for the 13 estates as indicated. The committee observed that the development plan had earmarked 64.9 hectares of land for the 13 estates. And the governor has indicated that the acreage was 54.07 hectares.
No. That's the wrong column.
The governor has indicated 150.
Is 150.
The governor has indicated 150, yeah?
54 is the units, Clerk.
So 60.
150 hectares.
Yes. It's actually more than what the development plan had. So take note on that, senators. I think that would be of your interest as the governor comes in. Number 9.
Number 9 was the details of number of percentage of units to be owned by the county government of Nairobi in the joint venture agreement in each of the estates to be developed. So it's attached in the matrix. Number 10 was a copy of the draft memorandum of understanding that the county government intends to sign. So the governor submitted the copy of the memorandum as requested.
Yeah, I think the others are annexed, so I don't want to belabor those for the process of proceeding on with the meeting. Senators, I observe that these are PRS document. So I wanted to ask our team from the PRS if there is any variation since this document was generated in the best of your ability that can be able to inform senators to execute on this matter properly. If there isn't, then I'll go back to senators. PRS, do you have any variations? Because this document was prepared by you. On any of the presentation that has been made by the clerk.
Thank you, Chair. No, it is as per it was already prepared in the brief.
Chair, I wanted to
Members?
also inquire, because
Yes.
you know, I don't know if the committee also prepares like publicly available brief, because this is for the benefit of the senators. I suspect that the leadership of the estates don't have this document. So it would have been nice and proper to prepare something that has all this, because she had gotten to number 9, and I thought that it was also important for her to take them through number 11. I'm sure you are getting notes. Yeah? So number 11, there was a requirement for a schedule of developments for each estate indicating the expected commencement dates and anticipated timeline for their completion and proposed project implementation. That is information that would be critical and important for the engagement with the leadership of the estates. So because it is the last paragraph, and in fact, there's only one more paragraph, Honorable Chair, I request that she just takes that one for the benefit of the attendees. And then, if it is possible, we need them to have a brief for just like the one for us, Senate, for them to also carry home.
I think you can go ahead and read the next. But Senator, I wanted to perhaps advise that for the purposes of processing because we have to process all these documentations, and there are volumes and volumes of them. Certainly, the documents of the Senate are usually available to the public, but after proper processing, which would mean processing them to the level that they're put in the House and tabled for the public to consume. But for the purpose of this conversation, I think it's important that we meticulously have the clerks read them out as much as possible. And that's why I requested before that the representative actually be able to pay attention to all this, because it's very critical for them. May you go ahead to read what the...
Chair. That's okay. You also guide on that. But you see, I think what Senator Sifuna is trying to say is, these people here, they understand these issues much, much better than all of us. So if you presented them with
Welcome,
documents, Chair, I'm on the floor. So if you present them with this document and just remove the sections that are directed at senators, they would engage us very, very fruitfully. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as directed, that would be good, senators. I will request the clerks to see what they can be able to decipher at the moment and be able to provide the members from the various estates, so they can be able actually to help them engage in the meeting. So that is in order. I'll clerk, you can figure out how to do that. Can you read that, and then I will be able to come to govern.
And the last issue was a schedule of developments for each estate, indicating the expected commencement dates and anticipated timeline for their completion and proposed project implementation. So the governor had submitted that due to the ongoing negotiations with existing tenants and dates for site possession, the project commencement and completion have not been conclusively decided to enable the development of works program. The implementation of the first 7 sites within the 6 estates, namely Bahati, Maringo, Jericho, Ziwani, Kariobangi North, and Woodley, is broken down into 3 main phases, which is the pre-construction, construction, and the post-construction activities. So as attached is how the projects were advertised and are currently undergoing the procurement process for redevelopment.
I think let's go ahead to number 19 and 20 so that we can be able to conclude on the entire document. Isn't it, Senator Sifuna? So that for the benefit of the representatives. So just go ahead and read 19 and 20.
19 was on how the projects were advertised by the county government. So as attached, that's how they have been advertised and are currently undergoing the procurement process before initiation of the redevelopment process. The last one was a copy of the revised restriction of building in Isli. So the governor shared the revised restriction of building in Isli, noting that the legislation process was underway as the Nairobi City County Assembly.
Okay, very well. Perhaps before I take it back to the senators, at long last, the governor has arrived. Governor, we have already started the meeting, and I wanted just to request and recognize that you've arrived, and if possible, you go on record, as well as introduce your team, and then we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know why it's at long last. I was scheduled for 2 p.m. That is the communication we had, and we discussed actually 20 minutes earlier. So it's not at long last. But Chair, thank you very much. My name is Sakaja. I'm the governor of Nairobi County. Thank you, senators, and the residents. It's a very good opportunity for us to discuss. These are people who I know quite well, and the estates, and the history of that, and we'll get into that. We're pleased to come here to have this discussion on our urban renewal program. Chair, we keep insisting that ours is an urban renewal program, not an affordable housing program, where we're regenerating and renewing council estates that have existed for a long period of time. So Chair, with me, a few officers, I'll allow them to introduce themselves. Thank you.
Chairman, members, my name is Lydia Mathia, Chief Officer, Housing and Urban Renewal, Nairobi City County Government.
Chairman, honorable members, His Excellency the Governor, Nairobi County, I'm Cecilia Koigo, Chief Officer Arts. Thank you.
Chair, members, and other Nairobians, my name is Michael Kinoti, Acting Director, Housing and Urban Renewal.
Boy, Deputy Director, Housing.
Through the chair, I'm Job Moura, Head of Press.
Is that all, Governor? Okay. Yeah, so thank you, Governor, and welcome. We, more perceptive as you may know, we had sought to have a number of conclusions on these issues. One of the things that we're very keen on as a committee is the dignified handling of residents from these various estates, 13 of them to be particular now, in the middle of this development process. We wanted to have a conclusion on that, whether that is being handled in a just and dignified manner. But then the second issue that we are very keen on as a committee is to be able to explore from both your perspective and the representative's perspective whether there is good agreement and perhaps even some guarantees of what happens after the development has been done. Will the residents get fair share of, whether allotment or otherwise, provision of the same unit after development? I think this is really the major issue in this kind of development, the current state of affairs and the future state of affairs. And wanted to establish a congruence between the county government and the residents of these 13 estates. So we have just gone through a comprehensive status update, which I want to take you back to, because most of those materials actually came from your side in terms of updating the Senate. And I wanted to give just the members time to perhaps canvass on those materials that have been read by the clerk. Then now, because the governor is here, perhaps then I'll give the governor to lay bare his status report, and then we can open it up as a conversation between us, the governor and the leaders, esteemed leaders from the estates that we have represented in this house. I might also tell you, Governor, that we had sought to have 13 estates come, but unfortunately we only have 5 who have come. Partly we own up because that was a problem from our secretariat. I think that they were not able to reach to the other 8, but nonetheless we have agreed that we will find an avenue of convergence in terms of just being able to engage those other 8, because I think that it's important that all of them are engaged in this process. So go ahead, Senators.
Chair, with your permission, it will be useful for us to know which representatives we have. I know they had introduced themselves.
Yes.
But I'll be happy to also know who exactly we have.
We will just give you the name of the estates, and most of them, there are leaderships that are here. But then I will request that when the time comes that you're given to give a contribution, when you be contributing, just say your name, your designation, and the estate where you come from, for the benefit of the governor and the house. I think that would be good. So, clerk, may you go ahead and read the estate represented?
Thank you, Chair. We have Lumumba Estate, Ofafa Jericho Estate, Maringo Estate, New Pumwani, and the Woodley Estate. So we have 5 estates in the meeting right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Senators?
Chair, on a point of order, Governor has introduced his team, and there is somebody that I thought would be a necessary party to this conversation. Perhaps, Governor, why is the CEC for the built environment and planning not here?
Governor?
He's coming.
He's on his way? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any contributions, comments on what has just been presented by the clerk?
Yeah, Chair. First of all, thank you for that recap because it helps to frame the conversation in the interest of time. It is clear that there are only 2 estates here. That would be Kariobangi North and Woodley that are at the project execution phase. And I have not seen the representation from Kariobangi North, perhaps because we had agreed that we would want to hear from the residents on what is transpiring on the ground. Perhaps you could take the representatives from, say, Woodley first, and then maybe Lumumba, because there were certain promises or undertakings that were given by the governor with regards to engagement of the residents in those areas with regards to this particular project. But just from the recap there, I was proposing to my colleagues here that we make follow-ups on the specific matters that had been agreed upon, including the questions of the MOUs with the residents, whether that has been done, in which estates that has been done, the status of public participation in the remaining estates, because we only have 2 where the project has taken off, the binding agreements or the agreements with the developers in those other estates, and maybe we take it from there. But I would like to hear, Chair, with your permission, from the representatives of the estates on what exactly is going on currently, especially for those that Governor submitted public participation had problems and where projects have begun.
Other members?
Chair, that's okay. Would benefit from that lead. Though I don't know, Senator Sifuna, whether you'll be amenable to a situation where we first allow the governor to give us a status report on the 5 estates that are represented here, so that then we can now get the residents to react to what the governor said. Then we engage them going forward. Because, Chair, remember what we said when we began, we need to bank some things here. Today, at least, let's conclude on certain issues. I don't know whether, Senator Sifuna, that would be fine with you?
That would be fine. I was only being sympathetic to the governor who has just walked in to give him some time to acclimatize. But if he's ready to go, I have no problem.
I know this climate.
Order.
And I like it.
Order, Governor. Senator Chute?
I think I support what Senator Umbo has just said.
Okay, very well. I think I'm in congruence with the 2 of you senators. But before I give the governor, perhaps Senator Miraj has just walked in. Please, Senator Miraj, may you put yourself on record?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Senator Miraj Abdullahi, member of the committee.
Thank you, Senator. Very well, Governor. So could we perhaps just have a status report from you? Because I think that will actually help us even have some input from the representatives, because that will be like a more, almost the ultimate kind of update that you can be able to get, to be able to have a sober conversation with the representatives. So, Governor, I want to give you this chance to perhaps give us just an update from yourself and from your office, and then I'll open it up.
And so, Chair, as the governor does that, I would actually want to hear from him
in presence of the residents, telling us and the country what is materially different between this regeneration program, the affordable housing and the social housing, so that we don't mix issues. If we are dealing with regeneration, then how different is it from the affordable housing thing? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And Governor, perhaps for the benefit of of senators particularly, and also the residents in general, should you have any hard copies that you'll be referring to for this particular session? Just in case if you have, it will be in order to perhaps share with the senator at these points that as you make references, you can be able to refer to them as well. Governor, it's your time.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and senators, and of course, my esteemed residents of Nairobi. Chair, I'll give a brief background. First of all, you've asked about documents. The documentation is, I presume, the same that we had given before, that is with you. I'll not make any reference to anything else apart from just history, which I know of. These are estates, thank you for the water, that we have known, we have lived in, we have relatives who are part of this residence. And so this is something that is very important to all of us as the people of Nairobi. Chairman, the 5 estates that are mentioned are part of many more estates that Nairobi County Government owns and intends to improve through our Urban Regeneration and Urban Renewal Program. These estates were built right from the 1930s. If you look at Ziwani Estate, Ziwani Estate started, the blueprint was in 1939, and it was the lead architect and consultant there was one G. Fletcher. It was one of the first African decent housing settlements in the city. Before that, Africans were staying in squalor and in really terrible conditions, as has become the case now in many parts of the city and many of our urban areas. Jericho is also one that is historic from the 1950s. It's an estate that has produced a lot of Kenyan heroes. The first person to raise our flag, hoist it on Mount Kenya, Kisoi Munyao. We've had Napunyi, the boxer. We've had Barack Obama Sr. and many of these people, who lived there. And you'll find the remnants of their history, because the nature of these estates, and the residents will tell you, is that a lot of these houses are passed on through the family. So you'll find a child, an uncle, leaves it to a nephew, and that is the case as it is in all of them. Woodley, and I can see my friend representing Woodley here, was started by Sir Richard Woodley, who was a councillor, rather named after Sir Richard Woodley. Again in the 1940s, that one housed more of our senior staff of the city council. It was a bit more affluent, the kind of houses you had there have more space. And more land. There were initially 300 tenants at Woodley, which is why the development we're doing, phase 1, is called 300 Woodley. And I can go on and on about all of those. Jericho, of course, is named after a prominent Kenyan politician who was assassinated, Ambrose Ofafa, during the clamor of independence, And Mbotela was also murdered at the same space at Bama, which was later torched. The idea at that time was to create conflict between communities and to make the Western communities, that is Luyas and Luos, blame the Mau Mau for those murders. And so as I close that, at that time, a lot of work went on. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, together with Tomboya, would go around Makongeni and these estates preaching peace, telling people don't react, don't respond, and we go to our independence. Now, the urban renewal program that we have, its essence is, first of all, in line with the intention, the original intention of these estates was to provide housing to Nairobians. Our population has, of course, gone up. These estates won't fill the population gap, definitely, but it'll reduce pressure in many of these areas. And the example I can give is Woodley, where the first phase of 43 units are giving way to 1,975 units. There are 1,975 families who will be able to have a decent house and an apartment with all the amenities that come together with it. They're all at different stages of development. In Woodley, we were able to bring down the houses, and the site has been secured. The residents had gone to court opposing. And I understand when you live somewhere for so long, you're sentimentally attached to that place. You know, in fact, you consider yourself an owner. Yet the courts agreed with the county that the county is the landlord, is the owner. And so long as the plan has gone through the proper process, the county can redevelop these estates. Now, the difference between urban renewal or regeneration, as it were, with affordable housing is in a number of things. Number one, the affordable housing being done by the national government is based on a statute. And in that statute, there's a levy, which all of us are paying. Everybody on our payroll is paying a housing levy. And so, from your contributions, the housing fund has billions through which they're building these houses. It is to meet a social, low-income need that there is. That is not the intention of ours. Number one, we're not drawing from housing fund for our main urban renewal houses, apart from the one lot that I explained last week of Bahati, where national government has approached us asking, if the land then will be available once we've done the decanting, that they can be able to put up units. And we've said we're treating it just like how we're treating all the other joint ventures, that even as they do that, the county shall get its share of houses. The county will get its share of houses. We're the first county to negotiate that, actually. Others have a different negotiation. I sat down with the PS to make sure that we get our right. Because remember, I have also a huge component of county staff. We now have 19,000 members of staff in Nairobi County under my administration, who we also want to provide for decent housing, as it were. I made a promise when I was a senator of Nairobi, and as I campaigned, knowing for a fact that the model where people who've been living in these houses are then told that go and you'll come back and have the first priority to pay rent until you own it was unfair. I feel it's unfair, and I felt it's unfair. Because by very nature of the relationships these people have with the original tenants, there are very few, and they'll tell you there are very few that have changed hands. That card stays in the family. I say that we shall acknowledge the tenancy within our records. And once the houses are completed, they will get the house for free. And it is really not for free, because then if you consider it a back mortgage, what they've been paying, all these years, then it is a recognition and it's goodwill of the contribution that these tenants have had. I still stick to that position. We passed it in our cabinet, in the county government, and that's the position that we hold. That every family that has a card that is in our register, because a card is, you don't just hold it, it reflects with our records, will get their house. They will get a house. They will have ownership. They will not be renting. They will not be paying the county rent. The only thing that they might have to pay then is service charge, because you must service these places for garbage collection, cleaning, etc. That is the only amount that they will then have to pay at that point. Remember, there will also be other tenants who come in who had never been part of this history, who have never lived there, but who will be paying rent or will have bought these houses. So there's some which will be bought, some which will be rented, and then some which, of course, will have those who had been there. That is a stark difference between urban regeneration and social housing. It is because if you look at social housing, the reason they need a fund is many of the areas where these houses are being done may not be economically viable or attractive to the private sector. But our estates are very attractive to the private sector, which is why, if you look at the tender we did, they were falling over each other, to come and bid for those slots. Because they have seen that commercially, they can be able to build, relinquish the units owed to the county, and make a profit. Because they have an imperative of profit, they're businessmen. They're not doing it because they love Kenya. They have a profit imperative. And that is why, all of them have structured their financing to be able to reflect that. Now, we've told them that they must do certain things. Number one, there are certain areas where historically, and I took through my lawyers and urban, planning and housing team through the history of all these estates. You will not demolish Jaramogi Oginga Odinga's house. You will not. We want you to retain that or something to show as a museum. This is where Jaramogi Oginga Odinga was staying. You will not go to Shauri Moyo and take down the house where Tomboya used to stay in when police would barge into his house, during the time of the Kapenguria 6 and find him with Julius Nyerere and with a small leather pouch where he'd collect money to pay Dennis Pritt, the lawyer for the Kapenguria 6. It would be so bad to lose that history. And there are many other examples. And these houses also should provide, if you go to Jericho, boxing is big in many of these estates. We need those social amenities to be put into those estates. Whether it is a new social hall, a bigger one, whether it is also maintaining Camp Toyo, which has gone into dereliction because it was being run by CDF, we've asked for it, and many other examples, Chairman. So I think that gives you the background and the history. I will ask my chief officer, the CEC is also here, Senator. CEC Patrick Mbogo is here. But I'll ask the chief officer to just run us through the specifics now of those 5 estates. In addition to the allotment, and the Woodley residents will tell you, those who signed and agreed with the county have all been given an allotment letter, which has force of law. An allotment letter is like a title deed. You can go get a loan with it. It is proof of ownership. It is legal tender. It is recognized, and they've been given. But we also compensated, and I can't even call it a compensation because it is not your house we have taken. Your landlord is giving you rent to go pay elsewhere and a house to come back and stay in. In fact, the courts were very surprised that that has never been seen or done. But our thinking is the imperative of the county is not to be profit-making. We're not trying to do business with our people. If 43 houses are giving me 1975, and that's just one example, my chief officer will give you the breakdown of the others, then it would be so greedy for government to also want to press harder on those 43 that have yielded, or of those 20, or others. So, Chair, I will ask Chief Officer to then take us through.
Just a point of order, Chair, before the CEC comes in.
Senator?
Yes, Governor, it's good to give that broad background. We like to ask some specific questions just about the things you've said.
Yeah.
Number one, with the negotiation with the national government about Bahati.
Yes.
What is the percentage housing the county government is getting? Number two, there is a report in today's dailies about people allocated this affordable housing, ending up selling them. I want to know what measures have been put in place by your county government to ensure that beneficiaries of all these units cannot resell them. Thirdly, when you were here last, you told us about this cabinet memo for the existing tenants to get their houses for free. Have you now submitted that cabinet memo? Because we need to see it. And lastly, a copy of that allotment letter, has that been supplied? Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Okay, let me answer those. On Bahati, we've not yet gotten down to the specific percentages. It's a discussion, it's an ongoing negotiation with the PS Hinga. Once we have done that, because we've not yet released it to them, but that is the framework that we are, in discussion with. Once we agree on the percentages of housing, we shall be able to submit that. It hasn't gone into that stage.
On that, before you leave that, so, but at least the bare minimum is that every person that has a unit now,
yes,
must get a unit.
That's
a bare minimum.
That's a reducible. That's a reducible minimum. But of course, we see we can get more value than that. Over and above those who are being getting a unit. On the issue of affordable housing and people selling them, that is a national government problem because their model is different.
Their model that because of Bahati only. No, you are in conversation with the national government. You said we are going to utilize the housing fund for this.
Yeah.
That is the only reason I bring it up.
It is one lot. There are 3 lots in Bahati.
Governor, even that one lot
is
important for us to get those answers.
Listen, Senator. the one lot that the county owns will absorb everyone who is there. Currently, one lot will absorb everyone who is there. For us, these tenants who are here, who get an allotment letter, if they choose to sell the unit, it is theirs. Remember, all these other units are also being bought by people. They're also being bought. It's, you know, what value do you have getting a title if you can't transact business with it? So that our model is different from the national government model. It's completely different. You have your house. If you want to sell it, if you want to rent it out, it will be up to you. But it's a commercial transaction. That is why it is corporate entities coming into our JV, into JV with us. On the issue of cap memo, I think we can produce that. I don't know if we had submitted. I'll check, but we have it. It was actually one of the first cabinet meetings that we had, where we reinforced that promise that we'd made, and that is in the manifesto. So that we can provide. But beyond the cabinet memo, the Woodley people are a direct example. They are holding allotment letters, and we can get a. Do you have a copy?
You know, Governor, it is this is the reason why we say we should always remember where last this conversation stopped.
Yeah.
Last meeting you had undertaken to provide those documents. We need to see them. And you know why I'm asking that we need to see them, given our previous interactions before the Energy Committee, that sometimes you say things, then you don't write them down.
Senator, the issue of the allotment you can get.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a document. Before the end of the meeting, you'll have a copy.
We spoke about it last time, so just provide it before.
You'll get it.
I just want to encourage you, Senators. I'm a very lenient chair, but let's try to speak through the chair. I want this to be a good engagement.
Yeah, so
that applies to both sides.
Yeah, so Chair, I mean, those are very straightforward documents. They're public documents, and they should be found within this meeting. Of course, we'll redact the name of the person on the allotment letter, but it's just to show you how an allotment letter looks like, and the specific ones that we've already issued. That is only on where we've already issued allotment letters through our lands department. Our chief officer is here.
The chair.
Senator Wambua.
And when we come to that, then it will be important because we have representatives from Woodley.
Yes.
To confirm that they have actually received those allotment letters.
Yeah, I'm giving a small leeway so it can be a conversation. And as you can see, you already see the environment is good for conversation.
Yeah.
But I think some of this will also be delved in if we give the biggest stakeholders in the house today is actually the representatives.
Yeah,
so that's why I'm trying to be lenient, so that let the governor finish, and perhaps I want substantive follow-up question like what Senator Sifuna has asked, so that the ones that we can be able to delve in terms of granular questions can come, or insights can come from the other side of the. Because I'm very keen to listen to the residents and I want to give them adequate time. So I don't know whether there's any other senator who has got any substantive follow-up, but if there isn't, I wanted to request that perhaps Senator Sige puts herself on record. She's a member of this committee and she just walked in when the governor was presenting.
Thank you very much, Chair, members and guests as well from the governor's team. My name is Senator Crystal Sige. I'm a member of this committee.
Senator Chute, I see you want to say something?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Very quick one. In the last time we had a conversation with the governor, the percentage for the county government of Nairobi was 30%. My question would be, if he's going to have a deal with the Department of Housing, how is he going to expect to get the 30% and at the same time give the land to the housing department for affordable housing? How does it work?
Governor, please, may you respond to that?
Chair, the 30% varies. The percentage varies based on the value of the land. Remember, we discussed that. The value of the land vis-a-vis the development. You might find a place where the value of, if the land is 2 billion shillings, Senator Chute, through the chair, and then you add the entire development and it comes to 6 billion, then you're talking 30%. But if the entire development comes to 10 billion, it cannot be 30%, you know. And I think I gave examples of how you then have a graduated scale of ownership of the JV based on different milestones. What we are trying to avoid is what happened in the coast. And I know you're very passionate about that because it left people with a bad taste. And to be fair to them, and also to be fair to the first administration of Nairobi, remember, no county had done this before. You know, that's why we have our challenges in Pangani and in, what do we call this, in Jivanji. But those challenges are being unraveled now, and we're sorting it out, you know. The issue of the title deed that had been charged in, Jivanji. If one was to not be pragmatic, you'd say cancel this entire thing. But people have purchased houses, they have units. You don't cut off your nose to spite your face. You say, okay, yes, they did that. And if it was illegal, the agencies of the law should follow those who gave those titles. But to be pragmatic is to secure the interests of your residents and those who have bought units in those houses. And I'm very happy to report that there is tremendous progress in Jivanji. It's going really well. The first tenants should be coming back soon, to their units, and we shall issue them. In as much as that started before my county government, we shall find a way to
Sorry,
make sure.
Governor, I want to just request anybody whose their mic is on, just to switch them off, so that we don't have the echoes. Governor, proceed.
Yeah, so Chair, allow me then to have my chief officer go into the specifics of the 5 estates.
Yeah, but before that, because your presentation was a substantive one, that I was giving the senators to give a substantive question to you, and then
So
we can
I think I missed Senator Crystal's.
Yes. She did ask a question, but I wanted to ask you 4 substantive questions, which I also want the representatives also to actually take note, because there will be point of conversation. The first one, Governor, in your presentation, you have very well focused on the historical development of these estates, and which is very highly appreciated. But with that historical representation also come with historical tenancy, if you may see what I mean. Because if you start the story from 1960 to where we are right now, it is my humble judgment that then you would have different tenants over time, which can bring about the issues of succession of tenancy, which is a very important one for me, because then classification of those tenancies then must be very clear. Do we have secondary tenancies, or do you have primary tenancy? And how do you go about that in terms of identifying who then do you classify as the tenant who will qualify for the real deal that you are presenting? So I wanted you to talk about that historical succession of tenancies. That would be number one. The second issue that I'm very keen on, although I'm not a resident or I'm from Migori, but I'm a very passionate son of this country. And I strongly believe that the approach to Nairobi, being a primate city in the continent, and if you think about just the kind of business that Nairobi attracts, it certainly needs a metropolitan approach in terms of management. And that was attempted in the previous administration, not well executed because of a number of vested interests, but that doesn't take away the idea of a properly run metropolitan city. Whether it's by the county government is immaterial, but just in terms of the principle of it. And that then brings the idea of how then do you integrate proper infrastructure into these major estates in terms of your development and planning. Because you've got about 18 of them that have been earmarked, 13 of them that you're very well thinking about planning. But is there a proper thinking around just the infrastructure that integrates into the city in your common planning of it? Are you thinking about things like cable cars? Are you thinking about things like the train access? What is the infrastructure integration into the larger cosmopolitan area of Nairobi City? That will be a very big interest for the committee. The third substantive question I wanted to ask you here, you did not talk very strongly about the public utilities. And I do understand the essence of having a developer and the plan. I don't want to come down into that. But by principle, for the benefit of the residents who are going to be there, have you absolutely solved for the issues of public utilities? Because this has been the biggest problem in Nairobi, and actually even in our major urban areas. If you think about issues of sewerage, for instance, We have got estates that were started generally in Nairobi, and today they are poverty havens simply because of poor public utilities. You find sewerage bursts, and in some of these estates that you have shared, for instance, you have just told us that Woodley will be moving from 43 units to 1975 units. I mean, that's a big sewerage pressure. That's also a big waste management pressure. If you think about waste management in Nairobi, is there a principle approach to it that the residents who are here can also be able to chime in? And these are also some of the areas of public participation that Senator Sifuna had asked before, whether there was proper public participation. Then the last thing is just about quality of life. Remember, I asked about the dignified living of the residents as they are currently and as they will be in future. And some of these dignified lives manifest in our lives in Nairobi every day. For instance, if I take a simple case of flooding in Nairobi, we know what happens when Nairobi rains. There is a proper incidences that we have seen of serious flooding in Nairobi. Here we're talking about 13 estates. And we are talking about high-rises, which have become a symbol of concrete jungle, even in places like Kileleshwa that has been in the news, and Lavington. Is there thinking about quality of life with regards to vagaries of nature, such as flooding? Those will be substantive questions I wanted you to talk through, whether now or in the mix of the conversation that we'll be having with the residents here as you're presenting.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very happy to answer them now. The first question you've asked, and these are good questions, Chair, is with respect to historical tenancy. Chair, it is true, there have been different tenants from, you go to Ziwani from 1939, you know. But any lawyer will tell you that we can only get into an engagement with that person who we have a contract. And the person we have a contract with is the person in our records who is paying the rent. The Rating Act, which you passed in December, also alludes to that. And so, yes, there could be some who are the ones we've contracted, the ones who have the documentation, but they have sublet to other people. First of all, the subletting is not legal. It is not acceptable, and it cannot be recognized to us. We can only engage with those in our record who have been given that allotment and who are our tenants, Chair. In many of these estates, the extensions, they're also illegal. The extensions, there are other structures behind there, those structures are not legal. But these people in those structures can get an opportunity to be a tenant in the new development, not to be an owner, to be a tenant in the new development. Remember, they do not pay rent to Nairobi, to the people of Nairobi, you know, because that rent is what comes to the public coffers. It is not to myself, it is to the public coffers. And so the people we recognize. Otherwise, you'll open a huge Pandora's box. Even somebody who came and put a kiosk in Jericho will also want a unit for free, or in Woodley. You know, you cannot go there. So there are also limits as to what we're able to do as a county with respect to those who are our tenants. A tenancy agreement is a legal document that is binding, either implied or implicit, or explicit in terms of a document. But just the arrangement of paying and receiving services gives you, you know, what we call the, you know, an implied contract, you know, that there exists. That yes, you're my tenant, you have that card, you're in our book, our records management, our records office, estate management has you in our database. That is the person who will benefit from this. And by the my team can feel free to chime in at any other point as we move along. And so I know now you will see many people going back to their houses because they had let go of those. You will have, and that's why we must have a very serious process of addressing each case by case. You'll have a case where you have a nephew and an uncle or a niece or two brothers claiming the new unit. You know, we will not, because the person we gave was one individual, maybe who worked at the county, has 4 children, it doesn't mean they'll get 4 houses. It doesn't. They'll get 1 unit that is theirs to own. If the others want to come and be tenants, they can then come and they'll get priority to be tenants in the other houses that will be available to them. There are limits to what you can be able to do legally. Chairman, metropolitan management of the city, I think that's a broad question. Of course, we have very good urban planners and in the city. Professionally, The Institute of the Urban Planners will tell you that they're members and of good ranking. Nairobi County is a county that is growing. By the time a lot of the plans previously were done, they were targeting a population of less than 2 million people. Today we are 7 million in the city of Nairobi during the day, 5 million at night, around 4.5, 5.2 thereabout at night, because many commute to our neighboring cities. We say Kajiado is our bedroom, and so is Kiambu and Machakos, you know. And so with that, there are certain things that must be done, Chair. Chair, in the next 25 years, which is why we're almost concluding with the unveiling of Nairobi Vision 2050 steering committee. In the next 25 years, we'll have 10.5 million people in the city of Nairobi. Of course, there is a huge strain on the infrastructure as we speak. There's need for us to avoid what we call urban decay or urban sprawl, which is why our development control proposals at the Assembly are to increase the heights, you know. But it's not increasing the heights without thinking about the amenities and the utilities. And I will break down to you what we're doing with water and sewer. And many will tell you they're getting more water, but I'll explain why and how and what is happening with that respect. Chair, you have urban decay in areas where somebody has to travel from Kamulu to go drop their child to school in Makini and go to work in Westlands, you know, or go to hospital at Mama Lucy on Kangundo Road. Yet, each of these estates should be able to have all of these amenities. That is what had been before. You'd have a health center, you'd have a market, you have a hospital, I mean, you have a school, and possibly many people would work around that area. Now, avoiding urban sprawl is not creating a concrete jungle. Any global, you know, globally acclaimed urban planner will tell you that is where the world is moving to. You'll be shocked. And this one you can Google and search or research in any way. In the east coast of the US, the greenest part of the US is Manhattan. That is considered the greenest part based on carbon emissions. And it is that way because they have done what we call densification. With that densification, more people are walking, they're using less fuel, the emissions are much lower, people can cycle to work, they can walk to work, and that is how you create a city that is, you know, geared towards the future. We're dealing with climate action. Remember, Chair, this is not just a Nairobi problem, it's an African context problem. In the 1950s, 22% of the world's population was in Europe, only 7% in Africa. Where we're going to, in that 2050, 1 out of 4 people will be living on the continent of Africa. And of those 1 out of 4, 25%, 65% will be in our urban areas. So what we're doing is something that should be replicated in our urban areas on the continent and in Kenya, in our counties. You know, it needs to be replicated. Otherwise, you'll have sprawling informal settlements, you'll have poor quality of life. And so when we're doing these estates, we're putting into mind the need for urban areas, green urban spaces, recreation facilities, water, sewer provision, the issues of traffic. Now, when it comes to, and of course on infrastructure, you know, this is the reason why, and you've mentioned the flooding and the roads, etc., why we're still putting up a very big fight as the governors on the issue of the road maintenance fuel levy. And I want to thank the Senate. The Senate has been resolute on this. And a lot of our leaders, especially the Right Honorable Prime Minister, he's spoken about it time and time again, that it cannot be that every Kenyan pays for fuel levy when they buy fuel. They pay for it. Inadvertently, everyone pays for it. And then there are two categories of roads, national and county, but you want this money only on the national roads. You come to a city like Nairobi, you find like the major arteries that everyone is talking about and has a problem, Jogo Road, for instance, Agwins Kodhek, go to Juja Road, are not managed by the county. The funds are not there with the county, but when people hit those bumps, the name that is easiest to pronounce is Sakaja, you know. Let us have the responsibility with the resources. The members of parliament cannot want to control infrastructure and plan citywide or countywide, yet the area of focus is so narrow. And I gave an example. I don't want to give a specific member, but if you have a member of parliament who has a huge informal settlement and also a middle class settlement, for instance, Upper Hill and Kibra, or Hurlingham and Kawangware, or Westlands and Kangemi, When they get money through Kera, and I don't know why Kenya rural roads is in Nairobi, but anyway, they are. When they get money, they will not put it in Westland Supermarket or in or Jogoo Road, which traverses more than 4 constituencies, or Hurlingham, or even areas like Jericho. They will put it where the votes are. But a county government is able to think holistically at the connectivity between these areas. So, Chair, on infrastructure, I think we need more support. And counties should also be allowed to resource it. Remember, RMLF, a component of it, I think 25%, is being securitized. But it's being securitized by the national government. Why is it that the national government can go borrow, securitize, and do all that for their projects, but not for county projects? For you to build a city of the future, the amount of money you need is way more than what we collect, and way more than what we get from equitable share. Even if we push to 450, Nairobi will just move from 20 to 23 or 24. So, Chair, on that one, I just want to thank.
Point of order, Chair. Chair, I think that if the governor restricted himself to answering specifics, we would move a bit faster.
Yeah. Specifically, what is about infrastructure?
I think you should go to pointed answers, Governor, because if we sit here and listen to all these stories, we might not be here. We know what our position is on RMLF. We know what the position of our party leader is. Maybe you can tell us about your party leader's position. But let us answer the specific questions that have been raised so that we move a bit faster.
Chair, if you remember what you've asked me, you've been very clear about infrastructure. And
yes. But just I think the point is just being able to summarize so that we have a lot of heads in the room who can be able to.
So, Chair, on the public utilities, and I mean, if you ask a wide question, you'll get a wide answer. I can't summarize when you've asked generally about metropolitan planning. Public utilities, the example I can give is Woodley. All of these estates, we know that the population is going to go up, definitely. Chair, you know what we're doing with respect to water. I think I've expressed it in this committee. We've had a huge shortage of water in Nairobi. We've been able to increase 140 million liters per day. For Woodley, there's a new line that will affect Hurlingham, Kilimani, Kileleshwa, coming down from Kabete through to Oleodume, to actually the junction of Kungu Karumba, the new road that connects Ngong Road and Langata Road. That line will serve this estate and the estates around it, including Langata, that has never been getting water. Now we have a new line coming through Karen, which has never gotten, by gravity, from through Bomas of Kenya. And so, while you have done that, the point I really want you to understand is that the Nairobi is water scarce. Yeah, we require 900 million liters a day, but we only had 525 million liters a day. We've added 140, but there is still a gap. There are 2 projects which I would urge you to help us sort out. On Northern Collector 2 and Maragua 4, that will add another 220 million liters a day to serve these estates. It can be done within the next 2.5 years. The financing request, again, is stuck at the national level. So, Chair, I think I'll leave it at that. Remember, with increased water, 75% of it then must be sewer provision. That is how you calculate it. At least with the Nairobi River Regeneration Program, we're doing a 1.8 by 2 meter trunk sewer, 54 kilometers. That will serve population for the next 40 years, but along that corridor. A lot of estates had been, putting direct connections of sewer into the river. But now when you have a trunk sewer on both sides of that one river, remember we start with Nairobi River, phase 2 is Ngong River, which is the most polluted river on the continent, and then Mathare River. With those 3, if they also have that component of trunk sewer, and remember these are contracts that are coming with the financing, we should be able to be pretty good when it comes to sewer.
Very well. I think that for the purposes of fairness of time,
yeah, I'll leave it at
that. I'll allow your, did you say your Chief of Staff?
Yeah, Chief Officer.
Chief Officer, I mean. Yeah. Just 2 minutes, in case there is any part that you didn't, capture, and then I'll open it up to the representatives so you can listen to the representative from what you have presented, and then I'll come back to the senators.
No, Chair, just clarification on that infrastructure, because the problem is with everything the governor says, there are questions that arise. Now, I have a very specific question, Governor.
Can I request, Senator?
On that infrastructure alone?
Only?
Yes.
Okay, because I want to be fair to the guests who have also been here.
Absolutely.
Since.
And Chair, you should remember that I am representing these people. So the questions I'm asking are not for Sifuna. I don't stay in Woodley. Governor, when we had this conversation last time about the joint ventures and how we determine how much allocation of houses the county gets, we only made reference to the cost of the land. But if indeed this agreement puts responsibility for critical infrastructure, including those public utilities, on the county government, because an estate, a home, is not just a building. All these amenities are also part of what makes the place livable. If indeed, then the cost of doing water, sewage, public roads, and other utilities I've seen here under clause 23C is on the responsibility of the county government. Shouldn't you then get more units in terms of the additional cost that makes this place a livable estate? Otherwise, in my view, if you are a developer of a house, you cannot just build a house and live and say we are selling units. You need access to water, you need access to that road infrastructure, you need access to sewerage. What would you say about that? As in, shouldn't we be getting more units given the fact that we as a people of Nairobi now have to pay that cost to make that estate livable?
In an ideal situation, yes, but all on-site infrastructure is covered by the developer, or including where they're doing a school or a social hall, etc. But the off-site infrastructure then comes back to the county government. That is the arrangement. But I'll allow the chief officer to get into more of those details.
Governor, I would advise, because some of us also are engaged in some of these urban planning issues. I would advise that some of these questions, if perhaps there's no concrete answer to them, just take them as feedback. Because my question was very, very specific on the integration of those infrastructure. And that's why you see Senator Sifuna would then have to ask more questions, even in that question that you've given, because that integration concept is not about just the investment that has made holistically in the city. Is how are these integration considered at this development planning phase? Because if, for instance, what Senator Sifuna is asking, if you're going to have a developer who is going to benefit from the infrastructure that you've put as a county, it's an investment you've made. And you need to have a value of the cost of investment that is there, so that your share must then be bolstered based on the contribution that you're making with that investment. But that I'll leave that for another time, because I know that I really want to hear. So can you just perhaps take a note, and then you'll be able to add them when we have added from the Chair. Or Senator, I can give you 1 minute, and then
Chair,
we go.
My mic has been on for a long time. It's a direct question, really, and a simple one. It's not every time that you have the governor of Nairobi here. These buildings are coming up every day, even before he does what he's doing. The buildings are coming up in Nairobi every day. All of them are feeding on the same sewer system, the same infrastructure that was established those years. Maybe the question that the people in Nairobi would also want to hear is, I've heard of some development taking place this side of the city, but the biggest population, I think, is on the other side, Eastlands, Pumwani, Embakasi, that side. What are we doing about that, the sewer system, especially the sewer system? Every time you drive around that place, burst sewer all the time.
Chair, we can have a substantive meeting on all the water and sewer projects we're doing in the county. There are very, very many, including some that we launched during the tour we had a few weeks ago. There are very many, done by Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company, being undertaken by the county government, being undertaken by Athi Water. So I'll be very open to come and give you a breakdown of all of those projects. Of sewer expansion, recently we're doing Umoja sewer expansion, we're doing some in Eastlands. And the water, that's what I was explaining, the first problem has been just the sheer quantity that is needed vis-a-vis how we're working to increase the quantity that then is received from Nairobi. So I'm very happy, Chair, on a substantive discussion around that. So
just how these facilities are integrated to the entire development. That's the biggest concern we have.
But Chair, I want to assure you.
Just a moment, Governor. Just to say that what Senator Wambua and Senator Sifuna are bringing up are very, very important. Because while the development of these 13 assets are going on, what they are saying is that they are not the only development that are going on. So there is this overall dependency of these facilities by other developments that are going on. We even talk about commercial development that are going on in Nairobi that are depending on sometimes this infrastructure. But we just wanted to have a case for integration. That's all. For how you think about access system, transport system, sewerage system, flooding system, and those kind of things. And you can give us that in writing at opportune time. But I don't want to belabor that because there are more substantive issues that we need to engage with the
Unless you give your entire development plan of the county. Chair, the county is an ongoing institution. We build roads every day. We have a plan for roads. We have a plan for sewer. We have a plan for water. Whether or not we are doing urban renewal, we'll still be doing it. And the estates we are doing will connect to that infrastructure, you know. And remember, this urban renewal plan is not something that someone came up with last week or last year. There's been a lot of professional input. Of course, they're faltered in many areas of execution, but the engineers, the planners, the architects, the transport professionals have been sitting on this for years. Remember, it started during the time of the first administration. So, if you want a substantive discussion on all infrastructure, for instance, we say in Makadara constituency, because that is where we have many of them. We have Jericho, we have Bahati, we have national government is doing some in Makongeni, in all those areas. We can be able to present that so that you can see holistically. But I want to assure you, we're not just sitting, doing nothing, waiting for houses to come up, Chair. Please have that assurance.
No problem, Governor. Please. Can I give you 3 minutes? Can I do it in 3 minutes?
Yes, I'll be very.
Okay.
I'll be very quick. We have several projects in Nairobi in what we classify as phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Phase 1, you're all familiar with it. It's Pangani and Jivanji, which are under construction. Phase 2, we have Woodley, Lot 1, Kariobangi North, Bahati Lot 3, Maringo Lot 2, Jericho Lot 1, Jericho Lot 2, and Ziwani Estates. Of this, in phase 2, only Woodley is under construction. The rest are currently in the joint venture stage, where we are imminently about to sign with the partners that we have secured. Then we have another phase, which is what we are calling phase 3, which we will be advertising. Phase 3 comprises what we advertised in phase 2, which didn't get a developer, and now the new lots that we'll be putting out. These are Bahati Lot 1 and 2. Again, we might drop, based on our negotiations with the national government, we might drop Bahati and release it to the national government. We have Maringo Lot 1, Jericho Lot 3, Lumumba Lot 1 and 2, Bondeni, Embakasi, Woodley Lot 2, Woodley Lot 3 and 4, Maringo Lot 3 and 4, Lumumba Lot 3 and 4. So those we will soon advertise to secure developers. That is the summary of where we are in terms of status.
Very well. Honorable Senators, I wanted to seek your, congruence whether we can be able now to have open this to the representative of the estates, just to hear from them what their reaction
Chair,
would be.
just before you do,
yes,
I don't think the CEC had followed the guidance that the chair gave. That there are 5 estates present in this meeting today. What you need to do, don't tell us about the other lots. Just those estates that are in this meeting today, what is the status? So maybe you can the chair had guided Lumumba are here, Woodley are here, Maringo are here, New Pumwani are here, although New Pumwani was a different issue. And the other one, the clerk can guide. Just maybe just give a breakdown of the status in those that are present here.
Okay, thank you, Chair. My apologies for maybe missing that direction. For Lumumba, we did not secure a developer when we advertised, so we will be advertising Lumumba, Lot 1 and 2. Jericho, Lot 3, we will be advertising, but currently we have prepared the joint venture agreement for Jericho, Lot 1 and Lot 2. I hope that's clear. New Pumwani, I think that's something else. It's not part of the mapped estates. Woodley, we have Woodley Lot 1 is ongoing. The developer is on site, I believe currently setting out to begin construction. Then Woodley Lot 2, 3, and 4 will be advertised. Maringo Lot 3 and 4 will be, Maringo Lot 1, Maringo Lot 3 and 4 will be advertised, while Maringo Lot 2 already has a developer with whom we are signing a joint venture. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Senator, is that in order? Senator Sifuna?
Yeah, Chair. You know, there's a breakdown of the phases. We have pre-construction, construction, and post-construction activities. Now, when you say you are advertising, is it safe for us to assume that you are done with all the preliminaries, including the engagements with your tenants?
Yes. Please go ahead.
You are done with the tenants. All public participation has been concluded in Lumumba, in everywhere. That's what you're saying.
In terms of the intention to develop, all right, that one we have concluded. What is not concluded is the conversations around the inconveniences, what the chair has been calling the dignity of tenancy and how we are compensating these tenants. Those conversations are pending, as they are for most of the residents who are here. We are yet to, lock down. Are we going to give you a 2-bedroom? Are we going to give you a 1-bedroom? How long is the, eviction notice? How many months do we compensate you to be out of sight before you come back? So those nitty-gritty conversations have not yet been concluded with all of those estates.
Now, wouldn't you agree with me, Chair, that pending conclusion of that conversations, you're poisoning the atmosphere? I think there was an undertaking by the governor last time you were here, Your Excellency, that nothing would happen prior to conclusion of those. I don't know why you're calling them inconveniences, because these are that choice of word is a bit odd, Madam CEC, because these are serious concerns that are being raised by your tenants.
No,
and,
she's saying the tenants' inconveniences.
Correct.
Tenants being inconvenienced.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I doubt you will classify the concerns in Jericho or Lumumba as inconveniences. These are major concerns. And Governor, we had advanced this conversation where you had gotten to a point where I think you had undertaken in uncertain terms that there would be no agreement signed without these so-called inconveniences having been cleared. But maybe, Chair, with your guidance, we can hear from the residents about these inconveniences. And then,
before even that, the update I would love, because I want Governor, this committee is very keen on closures. Some of them will be long-term closures, some will be medium-term closures, but some are certainly short-term closures. And those closures, what I was expecting in that particular brief, I think it's one of the most important briefs that we have had in the entire conversation. What I was expecting is, with Lumumba, this is the timeline we have to conclude on those concerns. These are the ones we have concluded. In the next 2 months, 1 week, 3 weeks, we are concluding on that conversation for once and for all. We are proceeding this way. And Governor, I talk also as a political leader, in the sense that I know that a governor's term is 5 years. And the last 1 or 2 years, there is a lot of political activities going on. So we don't want a situation whereby this thing becomes so an open-ended conversation, that we haven't concluded on this, we may conclude on it, we will conclude on it. Is there a specific update on every single of these 5 estates with regards to, just a moment, with regards to where are you at with those conversations with the residents, so that I can be able to actually open? I think this would be a good point to open up to the residents also. But I'm going to give you just 2 minutes. If you have got that brief, what you have said that is pending, how long is this going to be pending in your view with regards to each and every of those estates?
Chair, you are giving a direction, but just allow us to also try and help if we can. The governor has had his time. He has laid out his case. He has said what he had to say about the estates that he had to speak about. The residents are here. Why can't we just hear from them?
Yeah, and that's what I've said, that whatever the update she has given that Senator Sifuna has followed up on is a very, very serious update, that we need to have a concrete answer to it. If there is none, it's also fine because you've got the residents here. But I'm just saying for 2 minutes, do you have a time-bound update with regards to those agreements?
Chair, where we have a developer, for instance, Woodley, we did conclude immediately on the MOU. The MOU is a fairly standard document which is applicable across the estates. So the minute a developer is secured, for instance, we have done the documentation, we have signed the JVs, we have signed the form of contract, and all those statutory processes are concluded, and the developer is properly onboarded. Remember, it is the developer who compensates, all right? The resources to compensate the tenants for the time they will be out of the site comes from the developer. So until the developer is properly onboarded, you cannot necessarily engage with the tenants because even the conversations around how much money are you paying them requires the developer to be on board, so that then it's sort of like an agreement. We'll pay you 15,000, for 1 year or for how long. So a lot of these conversations will move faster once we conclude with the joint venture agreements. Where we have concluded the joint venture agreements, Reed, Woodley, and Kariobangi North, those conversations with tenants have been concluded. The MOUs are just pending signature. Woodley be finished, Kariobangi North, we're just about to do it. So as soon as we are done with these other 5 joint ventures, then we should be able to lock the MOUs with the residents. So that's the sequence of events, and which is why we have not yet fully concluded with the tenants, because the JVs are still ongoing.
Okay, I think this will be a good point to now transition to the residents. And I think the neater way to do it, if you would allow me, our guest for today, I will go estate by estate, and I will first of all just request the chairpersons from the estates to, make a submission or respond to what the governor has said. And then time allowing, I'll then go another round whereby I'll allow the estates to actually perhaps have maybe a secretary or a member who, depending on how you are organized, I'll be fine opening it up to any of the residents' members. But let's start with the chairpersons of the estate, and I will start with the Ofafa Jericho. If the chairperson or the person representing the chairperson is here, then I will give you this opportunity to perhaps, let me just see in terms of time. I think 5 minutes is fair, isn't it? I'll give you up to 5 minutes. If you want to share that 5 minutes with a secretary or a treasurer or a member, you're free. This meeting is free, but we'll start with the Ofafa Jericho. And remember to reintroduce yourself for the benefit of the governor and his team before you do a submission or a response or a query that you want the Senate to be vigilant on this development.
Thank you. My name again is John Mugoda, Chairman of Ofafa Jericho Residents Association. Excuse me, Chair. May I make an honest request?
Sure.
5 minutes may be too short for us to present. And if we are to start presenting, I would request that Maringo, the way we had arranged it, start presenting, we follow, then Lumumba comes through. If you don't mind, if you can give us at least 10 minutes.
Senators?
That's fine, Chair. I think it would be only fair, given that we on our part have exhausted the better part of an hour and a half.
Yes. Which
hour belongs to the governor. The senators have only taken half.
Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes, but then that would mean that just see how you spread it. So you are requesting that I start with Maringo?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, please, Maringo, The chair is Peter, right? Yes, Peter, please go ahead.
Sorry, the chair is Shauri Njoroge. There are two Njoroges. There is Peter Njoroge and Shauri Njoroge.
Yes, yes, Njoroge. Yes. Because Peter was there for the representatives, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chair. And thank you, our able senator and the Senate committee for inviting His Excellency, the Governor. We have never met him since we elected him. Anyway, let's start. To be sincere, Maringo Estate. To be sincere, our engagement with the NCCG has been so horrible. First of all, we came at the bottom of the chart when they were finalizing issues. And when we asked them who did the public participation, they never did it in Maringo, and nobody in Maringo was involved. So they were doing is chiefs and estates officers, not engaging the residents of Maringo. When it comes to public engagement, when it comes to awareness, nothing was done. Here we see there were 6 clusters, nothing that was done. When it came to mapping, when they were doing mapping, that's when some road constructions were going on. So they were doing it clandestinely, hiding. And we even asked them, what are you doing? They told us that we are trying to mark the roads. We come here telling you that these people don't come up openly. They come up hiding. Another thing is that recently we engaged the county assembly committee, and several issues came out about public participation. We came to notice that they are even doing public participation in WhatsApp selectively in an area where they call it Lot 2. We have 310 houses. They only engage 74 households, leaving out the rest. And when the acting director of housing was asked to clarify, he said that it's true, that they are doing public participation in WhatsApp, but selectively. It's in the hazards. Another thing is that we came to notice that these projects is not following the constitution, even the county acts. Okay, let me leave it to the secretary, kindly.
Good afternoon, Senate Chair. My name's Onyango Gutu, the Secretary of Maringo Estate Residents Associations. I wanted to be on record that we appeared before the County Committee on Lands, Planning and Housing on the 26th of March 2025. What emerged from that meeting last month? What emerged from that meeting was clear that this project has not been approved by the County Assembly. We referred them to Section 114 of the County Government Act, which subsection 2, which says that a project of this magnitude must be subjected first to public hearing. It is mandatory that it has to be subjected to public hearing, which has not been done. The same, it has not been, there is no validation report that has been submitted to that committee to present to the County Assembly for approval. So, as we speak now, this project has not been approved by the County Assembly. Number 2, Section 115
entails that laws and guidelines for such a project have to emanate from the county assembly. In this case, there is none. So in our view, or what we fail to understand is why somebody should be so desperate as to try to implement a project which has not been approved, knowing that it is an illegality. When we talked of public participation, sorry, let me just say one thing. The acting director of housing told the meeting that only 7 MCAs they went with to Naivasha are the ones who approved the project, contrary to provisions of Section 114 of the County Government Act. When we come to public participation or public engagement, we had about 6 of them, but on all occasions, they were coming to tell us what they are intending to do or what they have passed, not putting into consideration our inputs, which they were conducting the public participations contrary even to the provisions of their own guidelines. I think we gave out files and we have put all the documents that will prove that they were not even following their own guidelines.
Just a moment, clerk, did you receive any documents from just the same way we do with the governor? If the documents that were received, I know we might not have enough copies. If there are not enough copies, I want you to share with the senators because they're seated there, just so that when there's reference made, senators, you can have the benefit of interpreting the document. And also I'll just be keen
Chair, we presented enough documents.
Yes.
We presented enough files.
Okay. Don't worry, the clerk will supply the senators with the files. Go ahead.
On matters of ownership, house ownership, we wrote to the governor a letter dated 6th of March 2024. The governor has never had courtesy even to respond to that letter. From March 2023 up to this moment and time. We wrote him a reminder in October last year. The same, he has not responded to the same. In our letters, we attached sessional paper number 5 of 1958/59, and I'll refer you to page 23 of the same document. Though it is faint, it is somehow highlighted. It talks on how Maringo was constructed. This was constructed with an agreement between the Central Housing Board and the contractor. And they only handed the houses to the city council, the then city council, as trustees to collect rent on their behalf, on behalf of the Central Bank, which is now referred to as the National Housing Corporation. The sessional paper illustrates how the money was supposed to be used. It included all even claims we wonder what claims the city council or the county government is claiming on the estate. We also have sessional paper number 4 of 1959 at page 39. It gives the redemption period of the loan, which is put at 25 years. It is very clear that that loan was supposed to be redeemed within 25 years. But the city council have continued collecting rent. They have refused to reply to our documents. In fact, even in our last sitting, the acting director said that they own the houses in trust, meaning the houses do not belong to them. We also have a Hansard extract of 1960, which is clear. It was now repealing the powers that they had given the then city council, the power to collect rent now, and gave it back to the Central Housing Board to collect. And it is even clear that what they legalized at that time was only administrative arrangements that the city council and the Central Housing Board had. That is what was legalized in 1960, according to the Hansard report that we have. We have also a Kenya Gazette.
Yes, Senator.
Sorry, Chair. We're just discussing here among ourselves, and we appreciate the presentation by Maringo, but quite clearly the issues that are coming up are issues that actually should have come up during public participation. We cannot allege to conduct public participation here. That would not be possible. Chair, what we would want the Maringo representatives to do is perhaps point to the issues that the governor he has made a presentation. What issues do they agree with? Which issues don't they agree with? So that, as we say, Chair, today we must bank something. We can't have this conversation over and over and over again.
Yes, Senator Sifuna.
Chair, allow me to guide the residents, because I know the level of anxiety that these issues arouse. You guide us about the nature of these public participation forums. There was a notice here, and there was supposed to be a public participation on 25th May 2023 at St. Patrick's. Were you there? Were you present?
Yes, we were there.
Were you allowed to say these things that you are saying here now?
These people are only on that day in St. Patrick's. The estate officer came with a document. He read that document, did not share it with anybody, and they just walked out.
So he never allowed you to make this presentation you are making?
No.
Okay, that is the information that is important to the Senate. Now, other than this meeting at St. Patrick's on the 25th of May 2023, has there been any other meeting between you and the county government?
Yes,
in terms of public participation.
We met again on. Let me just a minute.
You gave us a date here of 2024, 6th March 2024. Oh, that was a letter. There was a meeting of.
There is one of 5th August 2023, and another one on 2nd February 2024.
Those are meetings of public participation.
Purported public participations.
Were you present in those meetings?
Yeah, I was present.
Did the county leadership allow you to make that presentation that you are making now?
No, we have never been allowed to make that presentation. And I started by saying that we have even written to the governor, and he has not even had the courtesy of responding to the same.
Okay, that is clear, Chair. I think we can move, unless there is any other issue.
I've been very lenient. You have actually taken about 17 minutes. Thank you. Yes, but I was giving time because I like classifying sometimes some of these themes that come out. So I think that the theme that I was getting is one, a miscommunication between you and the governor, where there is no, maybe some exchange communication, which apart I think that the governor will respond to at the right time. But then there's also the issue of the legality of the project. And the one that perhaps actually caught my eye was the issue of a requirement to have the county assembly certify this kind of project, which I think again governor will talk about or rather respond to. So in that presentation, I have actually gotten two of those issues: lack of that communication between you and the governor, which I think should be there because it's a stakeholders engagement, just the way governor would have conversation between the county and developers. There should be conversation between you as residents and the governor. But then the issue of legality, senators, I think that the issue of this county assembly engagement perhaps is something that the governor can respond to at some point. So just governor, just take notes. Your governor was a senator here, and during his time here, I used to follow him so much. He was also the chair of was it the other time? No, there was a coalition. Sorry? When you're MP, isn't it? Yes. He was sharing the coalition on equal opportunity. So I would wish that there is equal opportunity in this conversation, both in terms of communication and even further into the substantive allotment that we talk about. So those two issues, Governor, just note them. Those are the ones I've highlighted. I will go to Lumumba very fast, but please, I am not in the habit of saying it is time, cut, because that's not the fashion here. But I wanted to go to Lumumba, and then I'll go to Jericho Fafa. Lumumba?
Chair.
Yes, Senator?
Chair, I think if you want us to move very fast, what we need to do is to guide our guests on what the governor has said. If they are objecting to what he has said, what point? They must point out which point they are not agreeing with, which one they are agreeing with, so that we can move forward very fast.
Fair enough.
On one issue, Bonacha, our friend said that the issue of land or those properties belongs to who and who. The property belongs to the people of Kenya. And that is what he should note. From there now, we can keep on moving very fast. Please guide us.
No, that's guided. That's guided. I think you've taken note from what actually Senator Sifuna emphasized that. All the senators have emphasized that. Let us, for the purpose of moving forward, the governor has done a presentation. The clerk did capture all the conversations that we have had in the past, which was what I call a status report. Let us try and interrogate those ones. Which ones do you feel satisfied about? Which one do you feel you agree with? What should we take note of as senators in terms of those presentations? So Lumumba.
Governor and fellow.
By the way, just a moment, Chair. I like simplifying conversations such as this because we dealt with the issues in Mombasa, and it was very complex sometimes for even the petitioners to say just what do you want. I think that this is an opportunity also for you to simplify it for us as senators, as well as the governor. This is what we want, because that's a harder way of actually be able to make sure that as senators you can be able to converge with you and the governor on this issue. Is that okay? Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair, Your Excellency the Governor, and honorable senators. My name is Agesa Omega. I'm standing in for our chair, Walter Ogodi. Most has been said by my colleague from Maringo. I'm saying not my colleague, my fellow owner from Maringo. Owner. Why do I say owner? Not tenant. owner.
Chair, can you restrain the governor from
Governor, stop intimidating.
and threatening the witness?
No, but I've never seen.
Governor, you only speak to the chair.
Yeah, next week has a
No,
problem.
tafadhali.
But I'd like him to tell us how owners paid it. Because they pay us rent.
No, we can. You'll have your time.
Why do I say owner?
You're protected, sir.
Let me clarify to him. In his presentation, there are some things he was trying to evade. He gave not the whole history of the land.
And my friend Agesa.
Yes.
Here you only speak to the chair, you only look at the chair, you only point at the chair.
I'm sorry.
Chair, please. You know these matters are fairly emotive. Eh? And if there is need for physical separation of the governor from the witness, it will help us so that he is free to express himself. I've known governor not to be a violent person.
I guess proceed.
I am now concerned.
Why do I say owner? The governor has been very evasive. Evasive in which ways? He gave just a brief talk when it came to the history. He never mentioned anywhere the things which the last Senate asked him to produce. And if he could have produced all those, he could have known we are the owners. What I'll give, the governor came and also admitted the county had not gotten a contractor. We are not dealing with Governor Sakaja. We are not dealing with General Badi. We are dealing with Nairobi County government and the NMS, because NMS was a legal entity. So let's start it from the NMS. Our first engagement with the NMS was, and that's the question he asked, how about when NMS leaves the office? The officials by that time responded by saying, Justice Helen Wasilwa ruled it very clearly. NMS is a legal entity. So let's start it from where NMS started this project. In February 15, they called us. We have a meeting with them, which we responded to the call.
Which year?
February 15, 2021.
2021, okay.
We responded to the call, and they required us to do some things, which was registering of resident associations, which we did. The first meeting with the county government stroke NMS was in July 1st of 2021. And there were some things we discussed. They told us of the goodies of the project, but we had to drag them back because we are victims of historical injustice. Why do I say victims of historical injustice? Our parents, when they got these houses, when they were allocated, there were documents, and even as my other co-owner has stated, the sessional paper of 1959, sessional paper number 3 of 1959, it stated very clearly, the rent, the loan which had come from the Colonial Development Fund to the Central Housing Board will be repaid through rent structure. Through rent what? Structure in the document. We came to independence, and they can even admit it in one of their documents. The first estate to be constructed, to be built by the Nairobi County government, was Uhuru Estate. Uhuru what? Uhuru Estate. Why is Block 51 unique? Because it sits on one piece of land, Maringo, Ofafa, and Lumumba. And in that one piece of land, you realize that's where the whole issue is. No title deed. The other time he told the county, he told the Senate committee last year March, we were preserving the lands. That was not the role of the county government. It's the role of the National Lands Commission, not the county government. Why did they come in 2021? Because that was the expiry of the duration. They are waiting for the expiry of the duration of the historical injustice. That's when they came and ambushed us. Our parents have gone to the graves crying fall of what the county government did to them. How did they play the fall? They took the first cards, which had a lot of things. Now they gave us the cards, which now had the social housing thing. When they gave us those cards, when our parents went to ask in 1988, they asked the councillor by then, Sami Mbogwa, tunataka nyumba zetu. The only thing they could tell us is, wapi imeandikwa hiyo. Knowing very well, when they had come from the village, they never knew anything related with the law and housing. The governor, each and every time they ambush us, through SMS, unlike before, when they advertise one, two, three things in the media, I'm talking of the print media. We have the copies of the print medias with us. When we had the first engagement with them, that's why I say we cannot trust them. They keep on shifting goalposts. We agreed all what had been discussed, which we presented to the Senate committee last year, for them to avail. After availing, we agree on certain issues, which they said, kama iko hivyo, kama ni ukweli, we shall honor it. We agreed the secretary and our secretary, they meet, they synchronize the meeting minutes, it become one document, not a public participation, a document for the minutes. From that time, they have been taking us in circles, ambushing us with things which are not there. Only for the March 2022, we were invited to go to the NMS offices, NMS/NTCG offices at KCC. Because we kept on asking them, if you can't honor these minutes, how will you honor the agreement? They came with a shambolic document. They said, now here it is, you people start signing now, this is the document. We refused to sign the document because what it contained was not what we agreed with them. Some of the things we agreed was, they come with the title deed of the land, Block 51. They come with the design of the houses and everything. And then before that, when they had even started the process, they told us to register. They engaged us first in July 1st, 2021. And yet, if you check on the document, the expression of interest was advertised in January 2021. And as per the Constitution says, public participation, we have to be engaged. They never did that. They said whenever they'll be coming on the ground, they will be accompanied by any member of the resident association, which never took place. And one of the person who contravened those things is in the house with us from the county government side. He used to come akijificha the way the Maringo chairman has said. They could even come with cameras in some double cabin vehicles, wanapiga picha kidogo. We don't know what they are doing. When they see the residents, they run away. So we wondered, is this an open project? If you check on the EOI, and if you check on
what is the name of the person?
Kemboi is in this room. We have even the video.
Who is Kemboi? I want you to be explicit. Works with the.
He's the chief housing officer.
Yeah, just.
The chief housing officer, Mr. Kemboi.
Okay, yes. That's continue.
Yes. They continue doing all that.
Just point of order. What video do you have? You said you had a video of him running away or what?
Doing some surveying of the land at the AB zone.
Okay, proceed.
Yes. Even as the governor says, they're in touch with the people. We do pay rents. Do they maintain the houses? Ask them which was the last time they maintained those houses. We have just become a milking cow. I think I will stop with that leave for my chairman Mugonda because of time.
Okay.
Just one question, Chair, to Mr. Gesa.
Go ahead, Senator.
Mr. Gesa, we have a report here from the county government on this public participation. They say there's an exercise at Lumumba Social Hall on the 25th of May 2023. Were you present at that exercise?
I was present. And when
did you get opportunity to say the things that you are telling the Senate today?
We were present. Our main role was just to listen to what they've come to tell us.
So you didn't tell them any of these things?
They said, no, tumeambiwa tu tuwasomee karatasi. Tulipouliza, wakatuelezea, ati hii karatasi, tumeambiwa tusipatie mtu. That was the estate officer.
Okay.
Estate officer Lumumba.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chair, another supplementary. Chair, with what Mr. Agesa has just said, what then, as per your own question, Chair, is the ask from him representing Lumumba?
Yes.
What
we expect from the county government is for them to come and hold a public participation. We discussed some of the things we are raising here, one of them being the ownership of the land. Immediately settle the issue of the ownership of the land, that's when we shall now discuss about the project.
Okay, I guess just as I said, I like concretizing what I'm trying to get into the theme, and that's why actually, if you had about substantive questions, the four of them, now they are coming out, Governor. I'd ask about the question of successive tenancies, which was basically substantially the issue of is there an ownership problem or this. But for you particularly, I guess, you have referred to session paper number 3.
Yes.
Which was a contract of finance proposals.
Yes.
For the Nairobi African Housing Project.
Yes.
Are you telling this committee that in your humble view, or rather your understanding, that session paper was a contractual agreement that the tenancy payments you were making were towards ownership?
Yes.
I want that to be very clear so that
yes.
It's a substantive issue, Senator, so that you take it note. That is your understanding as residents.
That is my understanding.
Yes.
Adding unto what I was not born in Pumwa, I was born in.
Yes, so you and that's why I was talking about succession, because you brought the issue of your parents,
yes,
who might have been privy to this understanding, and that's why you have filed that contractual paper with us.
Yes.
That's the understanding?
Yes.
Senators, I want to take note of that.
That's okay, Chair. So
Yes.
then the only thing that then we would ask is that we conclude these things.
Sure, Senator.
So have you tabled that agreement that says that you're paying this rent towards ownership of the house? That's one.
Yes.
And secondly, so what are the residents of Lumumba claiming? Are they claiming the land and the houses, or just the land and not the house? What do you own there? Is it the land and the house, or just the land?
The residents of Lumumba, first and foremost, they are claiming the land. That is number one. And then secondly, when it comes to the issue of houses, it's a matter of discussion amongst the residents.
Chair, I want to finally just let him clarify whether this dispute, a dispute about ownership of land, there's places you can take those disputes.
Yes.
I don't think that sitting with the county governor, you cannot discuss and agree who owns what.
Yes.
So which institutions are handling that dispute about the ownership of Lumumba and Maringo and Jericho?
Yes. What we did, we